Hey guys, in this video we're going to look at the OER course for Economics 1, Microeconomics, with content provided by Lumen Learning. So we'll click on this course and I'll show you what we have inside. This is the home page, which directs students to the modules. In the first module, this is for instructors only, and this one is to be kept private, so please do not publish this. This is just for you to look at, not your students. And if we go through the items in this module for instructor resources, you have some general resources from the OEI as well as other OER kind of places. And if you go to the next one, this is information on the textbook/course. This is all from Lumen. So this tells you a bit about Lumen, a bit about where they get their information for the course. It says right here, this course is based on the OpenStax book. So this is useful if you want to know more about, in general, what the course is. And then the next item talks about the sample assignments in the course. And I've put these assignments into the assignments section. Keep in mind, this is a really important document. You want to read this through because there's 8 assignments, but Lumen recommends only assigning 3 to 5 per semester. So you don't want to overload your students and assign them all 8 of the assignments. This tells you more about I guess the settings and stuff. If you want to change these assignments, you're free to do that. Number 3, I've done this for you, where it says created in your LMS. So I've already put the assignment in there, but you may want to go in there, and you should go in there to make certain changes. I'll get to that later. There's also links to the documents that show the assignments in more detail for instructors. These documents, unlike the assignments that I've put in for you, these documents have information on solutions to the assignments as well as sample grading rubrics. These documents I've put inside of Canvas, but I've restricted access to them. You do not want these documents getting out to your students. It's really important, and you don't want it to get out to the internet as well. You want to keep those solutions private. And then next we have some instructions on editing quizzes. I've put sample quizzes and the Lumen Learning test banks in this course. I've created some sample quizzes, but I haven't created a midterm or a final. You may want to use the test banks to do that. And these are good instructions on how to create a quiz or a final using the questions in the question bank. So if we go to the next one, we see the private learning outcomes. This is just general information on the course and the learning outcomes. So if we continue on, this is if you want some help from Lumen, they do have customer support and you can talk to them. So I believe that's it for the instructor module. Then we move on to stuff for your students. I've included in this course a general module about Canvas. This is for your students, and it shows them how to do various things in Canvas. This is just general information from Canvas that could be helpful to your students. And if we move down the list, the next one is a student resource. This is a PDF version of the course readings from Lumen. This is good. You may want to encourage your students to download this if they're in an area that doesn't have internet and they want to read their book. They could do that, on the subway or something with this PDF. Lumen also includes chapter PowerPoints or module PowerPoints. I haven't embedded them in each module. I've just kind of made a page here that lists all of the PowerPoints. Your students can download them here. You could use these in class if you taught this face-to-face. You could you could use these yourself. They're here to download. You just click on it. To preview, you click the little magnifying glass, and that'll load them up right in Canvas for you and your students. And you can go full screen here if you want. So that concludes the student resource modules, and we move down to the actual readings. So this is the first module. Here's all the readings. This is just linked straight to Lumen. So when students click on that, it does load up right in Canvas, so they don't have to leave Canvas. But this is actually Lumen. And so this is, part of the first module. And to move on to the next section, they just click Next. And this is just the first module and the readings for that module. The thing I really like about Lumen is they do include videos and practice quizzes and stuff, and it's a very interactive way of presenting the material for your students. So I really like using the Lumen materials, which they've generously offered for free for you and your students. So back to the modules. Once the students complete the readings, there is, not for the first module, for the first module there is a sample quiz, which again, I'll show you that in a minute. But in all the rest of the modules, there is discussions provided by Lumen, and I've put these in discussions for you to use. And you will have to decide whether or not you want to use these. You can always unpublish these or delete these or just change the language. And before you open your class, before you publish your class, you're definitely going to want to click Edit on these discussions. And if you want to grade them, you're going to click that, add the points, as well as due dates and things like that. So there's a lot of discussions in there for every module except for the first module, which didn't come with a discussion. So moving on, the only other thing in the modules besides discussions are quizzes. And the quizzes I've purposely left unpublished. These are just sample quizzes that I've created. And I've created these from the Lumen test banks. Most of the quizzes are 20 question quizzes. There's certain modules where they didn't have 20 questions in the banks. So for those ones, those are just 10-point quizzes. And the way I've set these up, you're definitely, if you want to use these, you're going to want to edit these. So if you click Edit, you can see I've made these graded, so it's 1 point per question. I've selected shuffle answers, so this is going to shuffle the A, B, C, D multiple choice so that, to prevent cheating. I've also put a time limit of 40 minutes. You may want to change that. For a 20-question quiz, I give them 2 minutes per question, but that's up to you if you want to change this. You may also want to allow them multiple attempts so they can take the quiz over and over. That's a good way for students to learn the material, is multiple attempts. I've left that out for now. And then there's some other options here as well. One that some teachers like to change, especially, is this one. Let students see their quiz responses. Incorrect questions will be marked. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Be careful with this, though, because if you let students see the correct answers, if you just leave the dates blank, then one student can take the test, see all the answers, and then share them with their friends. So what I recommend teachers to do is, if you want to show the students the correct answers, choose a date here that matches your due date in your assign box down here, so that students don't get the correct answers until everyone's completed the quiz. And that's another preventative measure to discourage sharing answers. So I'm very protective of the test banks, so I'm not showing students anything, but I do see the value in showing them the correct answers once the quiz is completed for review purposes. If you want to create your own quizzes, you can. There's a lot of test banks. I'll show that in a minute. The way that Lumen sets up the test banks is pretty detailed. So they have sort of two versions of the test banks. One is kind of a granular outcome-based test banks, and if I can show you those in a minute. Let's see, I'll show you those right now. So Lumen, let's look at the test banks here. So there's consolidated test banks. So these are the entire module 1. Every question for module 1 is in the consolidated test banks. These are good to use if you want to create like a midterm or a final and you don't want to go through all the smaller test banks. Below the consolidated ones, though, are the ones that I use for the quizzes, and these break up the modules into learning outcomes. So you can see for module 1 there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 test banks, and so for each module there's multiple test banks. The way that I created the quizzes is I added questions proportionately, I guess. So you know, for module 3, if this particular test bank had 24 questions, there's more of questions from this test bank than the one with 10 questions, for instance. So I worked out the percentages and added the questions proportionally, and it was a lot of work, but this ensures that students get questions from each part of the module. So I thought that was an important step to take. Again, you don't have to use these if you don't want to, but they're a great resource for review and setting up quizzes. So here you go. So we'll just look at one, and I can show you how it works as regards to the test banks. So if you wanted to change the number of questions, for instance, you can just go into the quiz and click on questions, and you can see here's what I did. So it's going to randomly pick 6 questions from this bank here, 2 questions from this bank, 5 from this bank, 7 from this bank. If, say, you just wanted a 10 question quiz, you can just click this little pencil and change the number of questions from each of these banks. So you could easily edit this and then update the group, and that'll change the number of questions. You can add more if you want, or just create whole new quizzes if you want. The last thing that I want to show you in this OER course is the assignments section. And these are those sample assignments that we talked about earlier. These are assignments created by Lumen. And again, I definitely, if you're going to use these, you're going to have to create due dates, points, etc. And you're going to want to put them in the right spot. So the the assignments don't sort of tell you in this form where they should go, but if you look at the instructor resource on assignments, here it is. If you look at these documents, they're going to tell you, let's open one up. They're going to tell you sort of where they should go. If this loads, we'll see if this loads. Yeah, here it comes. So this is more information, but the part I was talking about is right here where it says recommended placement. This sort of tells you where you would put this particular assignment. This would come after the scarcity module, or any module that talks about scarcity. And then here they give you the assignment, the sample rubric, and the solution, which I'm not going to show in this video. So that's valuable material if you're going to use these assignments. Again, 3 to 5. And that's pretty much it for this course. I will upload this to the Canvas Commons just for the LA Community College District. So it's not going to exist in the public commons for Canvas. But if you wanted to import this into your course, into your blank economics course, you would just, from your home page in that course, you would click Import from Commons. And then in the search here, you would just type WLAC. And this is going to show you the courses that I've put up for the LA Community College District. I will upload the economics one shortly, but just as an example, if you wanted the business course or any course, you would click on the course, and then on the right, you would check which course you want to import it into, and then simply click this green Import into Course button. That's going to move all of that information, that entire course, into your shell for you to use and edit and share with your students. So I hope this helps you make the switch to the open educational resources and save your students from buying an overpriced textbook. All right, thanks for watching.